Hello YouTube, thought I'd do a quick video here. This video is going to be about how to set up your repeater ID, the date and time and weather software, how to set that up to use it with my interface board. That's what this video is about. Now this interface board will plug into the Retevis RT97S repeater or the Midland MXR10 repeater. Those repeaters have a data port on the side. My interface board that I designed and built plugs right into there. You're going to need to purchase separately is a USB to DB9 adapter, and I'm going to highly recommend you purchase a USB sound card. Now, I have two brand new computers, and I tried using the sound card that's built in the computer, and the sound just wasn't as good as I wanted. As soon as I use this cheap USB sound card, the sound is much better. There's two audio cables that come off my interface board that need to be plugged into a sound card. So I recommend getting a sound card. This is the cheapest one on eBay that I bought. It was like $2.80 free shipping. Okay. Now also, what you can't see off camera, my interface board does require power, which is plugged in to an outlet strip off camera. Now, I do have this hooked up to a dummy load because I don't want to really be transmitting this over the air per se. So now, let's go to the desktop and I'm going to show you what I have going on here. A couple things I want to point out right away. I am running three softwares at the same time, as you can see. That requires special software. I already did a video on it, how to share the COM port, because let me go back to the camera. When you have a USB DB9, you can only one program at a time can use that COM port, unless one way is to use special software, and that's what I'm doing. That's how I'm able to have three programs running at once, sharing that USB DB9 adapter. I will post a link in the description to that video on how to do this, how to share your COM port. Okay, so that's one thing I want to point out. The second thing I want to point out right away before I forget is that the date and time software has its own volume control, which does not affect the main volume control on the computer, which is nice to know, because if you're running some other software and you don't want to turn down your main computer volume, you don't have to. The date and time has its own volume. Let me show you. So if I clear the screen, let's adjust this one almost all the way down, and let's adjust this one halfway. Now if I go to my main computer volume, it's at 54. Okay, so now if I turn these all the way down to 0, my computer volume, my main computer volume, is still at 54. So that volume on that software does not interfere with your main computer volume. So if you think the date and time announcements and your repeater ID and all that's too loud, then you can turn it down here to adjust it. I am old, I can't hear, I need the volume all the way up. But you can adjust it separately. Okay, now I want to also point out, you're probably wondering, why do I have two date and times running? The reason being is, let me get my fancy little pen here. You don't have to do it this way, but I'm doing it just to see what I can and can do with the interface board. As you know, or as you may not know, per FCC, if I remember correctly, every 15 minutes you're supposed to do your call sign over your repeater. So I have one software doing my call sign. The other software I have doing the date and time and weather. That's why I'm running two of these. Yes, I could do it so that I could run just one software, and let's say for an example, I did the my repeater call sign, I could just run that and then just have it go off every 15 minutes along with my repeater call sign. I could have it do the date and time and weather right after that. I could do that, but I just want to do things a little differently. So I have my repeater identify itself every 15 minutes on this one, and every 60 minutes I have it do my date and time and weather over my radio. So that's why I'm running two of these. You don't have to do this, but I'm just kind of playing around with different things. Okay, so now let's get into how do you set this up. Okay, now like I said, since I'm running two softwares, I had to running three software at the same time, I had to install that special software. When you do that, make note of the COM port number, okay? Because when you go to do this, we're going to select, if I go, let me get my pointer here, to COM port, I need to select the correct COM port number. So if I go to here, in my case, it's COM port number 1. I got to make sure I select that or this ain't going to work. Okay? Now, once you select it, in my case, I got to do it twice because I'm running two programs at the same time. But once you select it, you can double check your setting right here. It will tell you what your COM port is. See that right there? In my case, it says COM1. So that's how you know what your COM port number is. So make sure you select the right COM port to begin with. Okay? So, in my case, I'm running two of these, so I got to do them on COM port 1. Now, the next thing I want to show you that's a really neat feature, down here at the very bottom, let me get my fancy pen, it's called Inhibit Message right here. Make sure that checkbox is checked. The reason being is, let me show you, and I have two of them, so I got to make sure they're both checked. But the reason being is, let me close this. Watch what happens with the cuckoo bird. Watch right here and right here. When I key up a radio, whether it's a mobile radio, whether it's a handheld, whatever radio is on your repeater, you don't want the date and time to key up and try to talk over people. So when I key up a radio, I got a radio in my hand, I'm going to key it up. Watch what happens with a cuckoo bird. It goes behind shutters. It will stay that way until I unkey. And the reason why you want that is you want to disable this software until people are done talking. So the software will detect when a radio is keyed up. Two-way radio is keyed up. Again, whether it's mobile, whether it's a handheld. So you want that box checked. Okay? So the other thing I want to show you, and with Zello, you don't have to worry. Zello, you can only key up one radio at a time or it beeps back at you. So you don't have to really worry about that with Zello. The other thing I want to show you is when you go to COM port, you got to make sure this box is checked or the interface board will not work. The RTS pin 7, make sure that's checked marked. Okay? Now, the other box you want to check mark is an option box. Okay? And that is going to be the next one right above. And this is on the PTT command. The next one called DTR pin 4. Check that box only if you want this to play over Zello. It will always play over the two-way radios, but if you want your date or time or weather or your repeater ID to play over Zello, check that box. I'll show you exactly what I mean. So, let's go ahead and clear this. I have them checked. Since I'm running two of these, I'm going to have them both checked. Okay, They're checked. So now if you watch right here and down here, okay, when I key up this software and I have it set to play on Zello, you will see it play on Zello. Let's do my repeater ID first. See that? It's playing over Zello, and if you didn't notice, it's disabling this one because we don't want this to fight each other. We want this not to fight each other, so it's going to disable the other one while this one's playing. You saw it play over Zello. Now if I go to this one, I hit play, again, it's going to play over Zello. It's going to disable this one because we don't want to fight each other, and it's playing over Zello, as you can see. This one's my date and time and weather, and it's playing over Zello as we speak. You won't be able to hear it, but it's playing on Zello. You can see it right here. Okay? Now, if you don't want it to play on Zello and you want to only play over your repeater, then uncheck that box. Now, if I hit play, let me grab a handheld, turn up the volume. If I hit play, you won't see it going over Zello. That's my call sign in Morse code. Okay, didn't play over Zello. Now let's go to the date and time and weather. I do have weather turned on in this case. Let's play that.
Thursday, 11
See?
May 2023. Time is 2.
So it's playing over my radio, but not over Zello. That's what's nice about having that feature. You can disable it if you want to. Okay. Now, I want to also make clear, obviously I have Zello on here and I have weather. That requires internet connection. If you're not going to use Zello or you're not going to use the weather and you just want your repeater ID and your date and time, then you do not need internet connection because it will get the date and time from the computer. Okay. As for your call sign, I did a video on how to make an audio file. You can make one in Morse code, or you can record your own voice saying your call sign, or you can use, I did a video on how to convert text to a voice. You can also do that. So I'll try to find those videos and I'll post those links down below. But to enable, in this case, if I want to play my call sign every 15 minutes, let me get my fancy pen. What you got to do is right here, you got to check the header box. Then you got to select your audio file by the browse button. Okay? Now, like I said before, I could easily just use one of these programs. I could do it. I could check this box. Then I could check my date and time. And then select my weather. And have my call sign be announced using one software. It will do it right after. So every 15 minutes I could have it do all of this. But I just want to be a little different, so I'm having it just do the call sign every 15 minutes, and then every 60 minutes I do the date and time and weather. But you don't have to do that. You could do it, like I said, you could do it all of it in one software if you don't mind it playing every 15 minutes, your date and time and weather. Okay? But that's how you do that. So now let me go back to show you just a little bit more here. So if I select the header, then I got to select, hit the browse button. I got to point to my pre-recorded audio file that I made. I got to select that. Now, if I want to have a delay before it does the date and time, I could select that here. 1 second, 2 seconds, whatever. I don't do that, so I just don't do that. But you can select that before it plays the date and time if you have those boxes checked. I don't on this one because I just want the repeater ID. I have it checked over here. So that's how you do it. And again, you can just use one software if you want to. You don't need to do it this particular way. I'm just kind of playing around with different things, kind of testing different things. So again, if you don't need to run 3 softwares, you don't need to install that special program. But anyhow, that's how you set up the interface board for the date and time, repeater announcements, using the interface board. If you have any questions or comments, please post them down below. Please subscribe. Thank you and have a good day.